Inside at last.
Welcome, fellow Taffers, to Inside at Last, the one and only thief-dedicated podcast. My name is Alexi, and with me is Nexi. And today we have two guests for the first time at the show, Andy and Randy. I couldn't stop with that joke.
Yes.
Better known, we have Andy and Rob, Marbleman and Random Taffer. So welcome, guys.
Thank you.
How's it going?
I hope you guys are fine. Because Psychosis couldn't make it in time today. Maybe he will join later. Let's see what happens.
Fingers crossed.
And we are here to talk about your contest winning mission, A Feast of Pilgrims. First of all, congratulations on that. How do you feel about that?
I feel pretty good. I was, I don't know. I've entered so many contests, and I feel like I've come in second twice now, I think. But it was, it felt good to actually win one, even though our mission wasn't my favorite of the contest. But it was nice.
Oh, so you were expecting second?
Yeah, kind of.
I feel about the same way.
Yeah, I think Andy and I have the same opinion about the mission that should have won. But yeah,
would you tell which it is, or?
Yeah, no, sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing Andy feels the same, but I felt like Into the Odd was my favorite.
On the mission, I gave 30 points.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. So you're on the same page like Psychosis.
Yeah, I think so.
I think so, yeah.
I think it's very interesting. I think there's what my experience is that there's like almost just that those two sides. Like one is like, okay, Into the Odd should win, and the others are like Feast of Pilgrim, and in between there's always Builder's Paradise. That is my experience, what people said on the comments and stuff. But very interesting. So, but Nex and we were right. We thought that Feast of Pilgrim will win, and I thought at least it should win. And so I'm very happy to have you here as our first guests in the contest mission reviews. But before we dive into that amazing experience, since you, Marbleman or Andy, are here for the first time, so please give listeners the chance to a little bit to know about you. Please introduce yourself a bit. Please tell us like what missions you might be known for in the community, and then please tell us about your first thief experience.
So, well, as some of you may already guessed, my real name's Andy, and I haven't really released that many missions, so I guess I'm only known for Cracks in the Glass, which came out in 2018, and I'm currently making sort of a follow-up to that, but I'm still working on other stuff. And I'm sort of a latecomer into Thief, I'd say. I first discovered it in 2013. And partially that game we don't talk about is to blame for that. You know, when it came out, everybody was so outraged that I decided to take a look at what came before it that was so great. And it really was great. So it's been pretty much the only game I played ever since.
That's a very interesting point, but because I think you are you are the first guest that came pretty late into the Thief game. So I'm wondering, like, how was it to play this game with the bad graphics? So I mean, the original games in 2013 or 14. Did you overlook that and just dived into the gameplay, or how was that? I wonder.
Not a problem, because I play a lot of old games, so I'm used to that. I like older games more than new ones.
Okay. Yeah, and a Thief is timeless, as we all know. But it's great to hear to finally have someone that came into the Thief topic or later, which I think shows that the Thief gameplay, you can destroy it if you get to the original game. So, but yeah, so was that already your explanation, or do you maybe want to explain what? Yeah, or please explain what did catch you about Thief? What did you like so much?
Well, I've been a fan of stealth games pretty much ever since I started. So I played a lot of Hitman, a lot of Splinter Cell, but somehow Thief always eluded me. So yeah, once I started, firstly it was a new stealth game, which I always liked, and secondly I found it to be a lot more interesting to play than both Hitman and Splinter Cell. So I really like the gameplay. That's pretty much the main reason.
Yeah,
And
I think
the endless stream of fan-made content and good content at that, it just keeps it alive.
yeah, and that's what we are here for today. Because sorry, next.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask this. We always ask this question: Thief 1 or Thief 2?
Well, for the longest time, I thought of them equally, but during the last couple of years, I think I've grown more appreciation for Thief 1.
Huh.
It's always the same next. I think we should stop asking that. It's
The sides are turning.
No, I can totally see. I think many creators actually like the Thief 1 games. Yeah. So yeah, thank you for that little inside view on that. We won't ask the same to Rob, because you already told us everything about on the Godbreaker episode we did with you. And this is already the connection to the Feast of Pilgrims, because it is a prequel to the Godbreaker. And it would really interest me, like, how did you come up with that? Was it, when you maybe recognized, okay, there will be a contest for Thief 2 20th anniversary, so you already had that on your mind, like, oh, a prequel to Godbreaker would be great, and I want to make a mission like that. Or how did it all happen, and how did you both come together for that?
Yeah, so I wasn't actually planning on building a map that was connected to Godbreaker or Connell. I was going to make just a regular Thief 2 map, and that's what I was working on initially. And I wanted to, most people's favorite level of Thief 2 is Life of the Party. I've always wanted to do like a purely rooftop mission, and I've never succeeded at that, even though I've tried many times. So I really wanted to try very hard to make like a primarily rooftop thing. And of course, as you know, that there's a one space at least where you can get down to street level, but it's in a very limited area. I mean, you can get down in other places, but you're not supposed to. But there's a place where you're actually supposed to get down, which is the cemetery. But I worked on it for a long time, and then I kind of stopped working on it just a few months before the deadline, and I had built most of the city, not the starting area, but like the first place I built was like the noble houses that are sort of like the white civic textures, has like a library in it, and like that area is what I built. And then I built that to the west, to the warehouses, and to the north, and then I built quite a bit of the cathedral as well, and that whole eastern section from that sort of connects the posh area to the cathedral, I had not done anything with. That was just kind of a blank canvas, and then it was, I had Marbleman Andy playing my map and taking a look at it, and he kind of got a hold of me when he realized, he can correct me if I'm wrong, but he kind of realized that I had stopped working on it, and he was like, man, this is really good, you got to finish that. And I was like, I don't know what to do with this part of the map. So he offered his assistance, and I accepted. I was like, yeah, if you want to put some stuff over there and connect it, that'd be awesome. And then I had talked to him additionally about, I have no idea what I want to do with the story. Like, for me, in my other missions, like story is like the most important thing for me. Besides gameplay and atmosphere and stuff like that, like story is very important. Like if it's just another mission where you're just paying the rent or whatever, that's fine and everything. But I really like having a story. So I ended up, I couldn't think of anything to do for Garrett because we had been already planning the story for Broken Goddess, and
which is the sequel to Godbreaker.
Right. Well, yeah, we're working on that right now, and so Connell was kind of on my brain, during while I was working on the map for this. So it was actually Andy who suggested, it's like, well, if you can't think of any story for Garrett that's good enough, you could bring Connell back into it and connect it to there. And then I started thinking, and he came up with the idea of doing the maps, like having Connell collect one of the maps that you use in Godbreaker. Then it kind of started evolving from there. And then as soon as I started thinking about it from Connell's perspective, like everything started falling into place pretty quickly after that.
So you got some help and some inspiration as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you need that little kick, and then it flows. I think you are an artist. I think you totally know that.
Yeah.
But that's great to hear. So actually, we have to thank you, Andy, that you kicked him a bit in the TAFFER's butt, and so otherwise we maybe wouldn't have gotten that amazing mission.
It was actually Bill too. It was Psychosis as well. He knew I had stopped working on it, and he was sending. We were playing. I think we were playing WoW together a little bit, and he was like, I just took a look at your city map, and he's like, you got to get back on the horse, man. You got to get back on the horse. And I was like, I know, and yeah. So that's how I remember it. Maybe Andy can add why he even wanted to work on it. I don't know. Maybe I'm misremembering the details. I don't know.
You said everything pretty much correctly. Yeah. One thing I remember is that I asked you, like, hey dude, like, I see you haven't been working on this map for some time, are you sure you're gonna finish it in time for the contest? And like, yeah, maybe. And it's like 4 months left. It was like this oh crap moment. And then I said, well, if you need help, like, I can lend a hand. But yeah, that's how it happened.
Okay.
Because really, I just wanted to see this map finished in time for the deadline. That's pretty much my motivation.
And you both succeeded in that, I guess.
Indeed. I mean, I've had some teamwork going on the map that I was building, and it was always a challenge how to split up the work, because you can't really, work on it at the same time. How did you guys tackle the issue of working on the same mission?
We use a app called pCloud, which actually has caused some problems between my. Sorry, what'd you say, Andy?
A lot of problems.
Yeah. Well, I think it's mostly from me, actually. I don't know why, but I work both on my PC, my desktop PC, my main gaming rig is where I do most of it, but I also work off of my laptop if I'm not home. If I have some time and I'm somewhere and I just want to, bang out a few objects or rooms or whatever, I'll load it up on my laptop. And pCloud is basically just like a cloud service, and when everybody can connect certain directories to it, and it automatically adds or removes whatever files somebody that's connected to it does. So since we were building out of the same directories, like all of the custom objects and stuff were just automatically there as long as we had pCloud up to date, and it automatically updates if you leave it running on your PC when it detects something new has been added to the directory. So and of course when somebody's working on it, we would just message each other on Discord and be like, hey, I'm working on it right now, or hey, are you doing anything now? I'm going to work on it if you're not, type of thing.
Yeah, because usually the programmers would use a repository to work on the same time, but it works if you can actually merge the two products together. But with DrawMad, you can't do that unless maybe somebody was working on the texts or the models, and the other was working on actual cow file.
Yeah, we were thinking about moving from pCloud for Broken Goddess, because moving from my laptop to my desktop, I was using the same account. I don't know what was happening, but my laptop downloading and updating pCloud was like causing corruptions on it. So randomly there would just be like missing textures and stuff.
Yeah, there would be like a couple of times where we would load up and all the texture folders, the object folders, everything was missing.
It's gone.
It was just the cow file and nothing else.
Yeah.
All right. And even though that you solved this problem of not working at the same time and having the up-to-date file up there, how about the design directive that you're going for? Like somebody has an idea for a place that's not yet designed. Did it just change over time, or did you have some guidelines that you were both agreeing on?
Well, I mean, I think it was pretty free form. Like I said, most of the city on the western half of it was already basically done. I did add more, of course, but we didn't really know what we wanted to do for the eastern section, so I kind of just let Andy have kind of free roam, and of course I would check on stuff and be like, yeah, that's cool. But I didn't really mind. Basically everything that he came up with, I thought was pretty good. I decorated a lot of the interiors, and redid a couple of the interiors. But I think he actually ended up making the best interior, which was Miss Ball's estate. I think it was my favorite interior on the eastern side, and that was pretty much all Andy. So,
except the name of the estate, that was you.
That was me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. You asked Nex, about if you have a cool idea for something, then yeah, of course. My favorite place in the mission is actually Alderud Estate, because both Rob and I worked on it in turns. So I think he made the actual building, and when I took over, I looked at it and it was nothing there yet, and the garden wasn't there. And I thought, well, it would be cool to have a rooftop connection here. So I made a really small garden at first. Then Rob expanded it and made it huge. And then I decided to decorate the inside of the estate with all those carpets and the smoking area.
Passed out people.
Yeah. Well, Rob added people, but yeah. I told him that. It looks a lot like something from the Arabic countries, So we just put some Eastern-looking people there. And
yeah. I was going to have more passed out people. Like it was supposed to be like a hookah den type of thing with like people reclining and like blazed out of their gourds, basically laying all over the place.
This kind of back and forth building with new ideas coming in. The best.
I don't want to kill the flow here, but I think before we go on with all the details that went into the work, could you maybe, so that maybe people that didn't play it so far, could you maybe please just roughly explain what this mission is about? What is the setting? So that everybody is in the same picture. So what is the setting of this mission, and what kind of mission is it really? So that that everybody can see what you are talking about in detail later. Is that okay for you?
Yeah. And Andy, you feel free to jump in at any point. But basically, it is you're playing as Connell, actually, who is the main character of Godbreaker, and the idea is that there is this, Connell likes to collect like old, interesting things, especially maps that he can save and use to go on later excursions to find, priceless artifacts and valuables to either keep or sell. He likes collecting lore. He likes learning about history and stuff like that. He's kind of a lore hound. So he just likes collecting anything that's old and interesting. And recently there was a Hammerite expedition that uncovered an old shrine of one of the early Hammerite saints named Saint Restor, who had a cup with restorative properties, pun intended on the name, and he finds out that they found the shrine, and they came back with the artifact, the actual cup, and also a pilgrimage map that should lead to the tomb of Sir Eldon, who was another early saint, pre Hammerite, I suppose. So he's trying to find that so he can maybe make a future mission to go to the tomb of Saint Eldon, which of course we do in Godbreaker.
So would you suggest, like, what would be the better order, to play Godbreaker first or to play Feast of Pilgrim first?
Well, technically in the story, Feast of Pilgrims does come first, so it doesn't really matter. I mean, you can enjoy them both on their own, but if you're wanting to actually like follow the story in order, I mean, I suppose I would play Feast first and then move on to Godbreaker, and then Broken Goddess once it's done, of course.
I would actually say it's vice versa.
Oh yeah,
because Feast was made after Godbreaker, Feast has many connections to Godbreaker. Godbreaker has none.
Yeah.
So without playing Godbreaker first, the player wouldn't get many references made in it. So I would actually say play Godbreaker first.
Yeah, that's true.
I would agree.
That's actually true.
Besides, in Godbreaker we get a lot more character exposition of who Connell is, and in Feast we just kind of jump into it.
Yeah, that's true. And of course we could always once we are coming out, getting closer with Broken Goddess, we were planning on doing before we release, we were planning to release an update to Godbreaker. So of course we can just retcon all that stuff in if we want.
No, but I would totally agree with Andy here. Since first of all, you released Godbreaker first, so I think most of the people played it. So then you come to that prequel, which is it's a common way of doing things in the media, and I would totally agree that there are some things that you maybe wouldn't get if you wouldn't have played Godbreaker before. So I think it makes sense to play them in the released order, and that gives you a cooler feeling, because in Feast of Pilgrim you now feel a bit like an insider. Like okay, I know this is earlier, but I know what's to come, and you trigger that at some points with some Easter eggs and stuff, and I think it makes totally sense.
I know for a fact that some people who played Feast haven't played Godbreaker, so they didn't get some of the references.
Yeah. So if you want to play Feast of Pilgrims, first play Godbreaker, then listen to the episode, then play Feast of Pilgrims, and then listen to this episode again. I think that's the perfect order.
But if you're deciding on either of these two missions, you're already on the right path, so don't worry.
Yeah, at some point, and we can do this however you want to, but you got to remind us to tell the story of the thing that happened, which almost made the map not ever be released, because it was a pretty bad bug that occurred.
I wanted to actually get back to the creation process.
Yeah.
But just wanted to make sure that now everybody knows, okay, what the whole thing is about. So so you already said that. Oh, I got the impression that the work on it was pretty free flow for both of you. You know that you both trusted another in the skills, and that you. I would say you, Rob, as the initiator of that mission. You gave Andy like free hands, and you were both on the same page in general. But someone from Twitter wanted to ask Steve at Risible Steve. He wanted to know how much planning goes into like saying what building goes where, and how much planning went into your process.
Well, this was kind of, I can't remember if I didn't really change planning styles from normal planning from when I build a fan mission. And I think we probably talked about it last time, but I mean, I'll go ahead and answer it here too. I plan key buildings. Like I don't really, I kind of build organically. Like I just build one building and then decorate the inside, and sometimes I even do the inside first and then build the building around it, but doesn't happen as often. But everything is pretty organic. Like I don't have a strict plan mapped out. The only thing I knew for sure that I needed, that I can think of right now, was okay, I got to remember, where am I going to put the cathedral? Like that's the main target. So and I know, inspired by Skacky's missions, actually, it was Andy's idea to make the whole map be in a giant loop, so it's a big circle, and then that circle has other loops within it, smaller loops that make up the bigger loop. So that was the main layout goal that we, I guess, planned for, because that's one of the things that, in our opinion, makes Skacky's maps so fun, is because they're loop like that. So make them fun to explore.
Yeah, and you're both pretty Skacky inspired. I recently replayed Cracks in the Glass from you, Andy, and I see some similarities there as well. My question is, like, for you, Andy. So when you jumped to the project, there was already like some parts of the map that were started and created by Rob. How was that for you? Like jumping into this, like there's already some existing stuff, and was it like adding to your inspiration, and you were like, oh yeah, I totally know what I want to do here, or what would be great here in your opinion? How was that?
Well, at the start, Rob just gave me this eastern part of the city to fill, and well, to be clear, starting not from scratch, but from something already existing is not a problem at all. It's actually much easier because you already have a base. And it wasn't my first experience picking up a partially made map. And I didn't really know what I would put in there. So actually the Ball Estate is the very first building I made. Yeah, and then it just went from there. The free flow of mind. What I knew is that I need to connect this section to one of the towers, the outer towers.
To the Hammerite.
The one with the Hammerite and the stove where he
that's right,
warmed himself up. So
yeah.
I knew I needed to connect it to there. So I just picked some buildings of appropriate sizes and then decided what those buildings would be. So
he came up with the idea to do the scaffolding as well, to have
the crane.
Yep, that was it. That was Andy.
Yeah,
but the tower was already existing.
The tower without its interior.
Okay, but the basic, the power will be looks like that, and that will be the tower I have to work with.
That's right.
So yeah, to explain that the tower is, I would say the most logical access point to the Hammerite's Cathedral. In the first playthrough, I came from the other side. and it's quite busy there, and there's a Hemorrhide like patrolling on that bridge. But this time, the second playthrough, I was coming through the tower, and I think it was much easier and felt more natural to me. What would you suggest?
Well, I guess when I play, for some reason, I always go I loop around to the west.
Mm.
I don't really know why I do that. I've done both, of course, but I don't know. I like coming in from that long like, I guess, wall that has the statue of St. Ives on it.
Yep.
The shrine. I like coming in from that way for some reason. And then I like leaving through the eastern, so leaving through the crane area. But I think we kind of I think a good way to do it though is to loop around from the east and go west though as well.
I think coming from that area that you just explained is more natural, because I think the eastern loop, I don't know, was more appealing. You know, it seemed more like that is the way to go, and there are many important buildings because you have some little side quests there. We'll come to that later, but it was interesting to me that the main way to the Hemorrhide's Cathedral is the west loop, but the access point that is way better in my experience is on the total other side. You know, yeah, that was an interesting design decision. But and at the end, it doesn't matter. You know, you have to get there anyway. So, yeah. So, in general, we can say you guys didn't really plan, but you just went with the flow, and you created what you felt is right at that point wherever you were working on it.
I just wanted to add to that. One of the last things we made was the map, and on the map is a little note Connell made for himself about Romero's armory.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much every streamer I watched play the mission read that note and went west first and not east. So that little note had a huge impact on how players decide which way to go first.
That's actually right. Yeah.
And a lot of them approached the cathedral from the west the first time.
Yeah, and that place is so lit. I like the place in general, but for playing, it wasn't like. It was a bit frustrating with the guard there and all the light.
Which place are you talking about?
Near when you enter from the west, you know, what you just explained, where the statue is, and there is that bridge, you know, and of course you have to get across it somehow, and there's always this Hemorrhide patrolling, and it's pretty lit, and of course, you know, I'm ghosting all the time, haha. So it was pretty tough for me. But next, could you maybe like explain what was your way of moving through that level?
Well, we'll come back to the first puzzle or the first situation that players put in. But after that, I really enjoyed the middle section. I think it was pretty free flowing. I could pick my way. But as for the westmost and the eastmost parts, both of them, I found it hard. I feel like they were made for a more of a knockout style of traversing the city. But for the ghoster or supreme ghoster, it felt like I had a hard time entering both west and east. I ended up going east, just because it was a little bit more guard free, and as for the west part, there's the Elderwood estate, which is the party going on, full of people.
That place is a nightmare for Ghost, and
it's hard to Ghost. Yeah, it's possible, but it's hard.
Yeah.
It's
It's
Sorry, go
actually
ahead.
it's possible to even get that wine bottle without dousing any torches around and for Ghost. But yeah, it's tough.
And a little bit south there, you have the Knob and Job, and you have a few guards gambling at the table.
Oh
Yep.
yeah.
It's also like it's pretty impassable. And the only other way to, well, without abusing the engine, is to go through the west side warehouse, where there's only one guard, and you can enter by going through the mechanist tower section and then entering through that way. But I also found that guard to be a little bit too watchful. So in the end, I kind of went down to the street level and then climbed up. So for that section, I had to like break the engine a little bit, but just to have it my way. If I had to do it regularly, just maybe I would have to knock out somebody.
You're not a role model.
Are you
No.
talking about the bowman that's on the north, out on the roof of the warehouse, like to the north? It's like he kind of turns one way to the other.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So-
Well, actually, he also has really bad vision, so you can sneak right in front of him.
Yeah. He's. Yep.
Yeah, that's true. But I put these weird rules on myself, and
We know.
But the place where there's the gambling guards, there is actually a lot. It's easy to miss, but there is a ladder that you can get to if you kind of ignore them when you first see them. If you're entering from the west and you go around them, there is a way to kind of approach them from below. There's a ladder that you can access them. I saw a Twitch streamer actually ghost that section by going up that ladder. It's possible to do it if you're coming in regularly too, but you have to be kind of very careful. But yeah, it's possible but difficult.
So
there is a shadowy spot behind them under the window where Raoul sings. Yeah.
Yep.
So we will roll back again. In our contest review episode, we already, of course, talked a bit about this mission. And when you start, and I explained that already in that episode, like this mission screamed like Thief 2 for me, and I explained my feelings that I got a feeling that I didn't know that I missed it. And like everything really seems to, inspired by the original game. But I want to know, like, how much, of course, I think the main inspiration is the city from Life of the Party. But how much were you aiming for to reproduce the feeling? Because I had the feeling that, like, the sizes of windows, the gaps between buildings and everything, I was breathing the Thief 2 original feeling with how Psychosis said it. It's like Life of the Party on steroids.
Yeah.
And there's, all those sounds you put in. Like, how much inspiration did you take from that? And what was your goal? What did you want to achieve with that mission?
I mean, I think I definitely wanted to do a Life of the Party style mission. That was the initial goal. Just because I know how much I love that mission and how much everybody else loves the mission, and there should be more rooftop only missions. But I definitely spent a lot of time, like, just walking around in game in Life of the Party and looking at how they did things. And there's a few sections that are like this, but there's a couple sections of the city which are like directly inspired, like they're like from the shape of the building, even like that place where the guards are gambling. Actually, that whole section is very, very much taken almost directly from Life of the Party. Like it's not exact, but that tower and the way there's a area that you can climb down and see some transformers at the bottom, like that whole spot is very much taken directly from like the beginning section of Life of the Party.
And you really did great with that. As I said, I totally got the feeling.
Some people noticed it as well, but not just Life of the Party, but in the crypt area, crypt is eavesdropping. Like it's it's so close to eavesdropping. It's the layout's different, but the shape of the rooms and the number of rooms that are connected to each other, even though the shape is different, that is basically heavily taken from the eavesdropping crypt.
And I would say that the center part of the city, you know, where the butcher is and stuff, and especially where you have to leave that little package in the crate, I think spices or something like that. That totally reminded me of shipping and receiving from the whole looks. You know, the textures you used and the look of the building.
That was more. I didn't intentionally do shipping and receiving. Shipping and receiving was definitely like the warehouse section that has the guy who carves the statues. That was definitely shipping and receiving, and with like the boxes, the little.
It's in that same area, I guess.
Yeah, but the rooftop section where you actually put the spices in there, that was definitely Life of the Party inspired as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh, I would have guessed shipping and receiving too. I think it was in the same east section where you actually have a label named shipping and receiving.
Yeah. No, yep. That where the wood chipper is. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
I think it's the textures that do that. All that red brick.
Yeah.
The same as in shipping and receiving.
There's a part of Life of the Party that I directly took inspiration from, and it's a very small section, but there's a part that has like a glass, white glass thing you can walk over, and there's some red brick with some ramps that go down on the roof, and that whole, it's a lot bigger than the section is in Life of the Party, but that's definitely what it was inspired from.
Yeah, but you also added a lot of, or you both guys added a lot of your own stuff and style into that. But I still think that you were always able to create that Thief 2 feeling the whole time, except when you used Thief 1 characters. But you know, like the interiors of the noble apartments, they had this wooden warm style, and and someone I like that it's like a house inside the apartment, you know, from the size. You know what I mean? That I think it's like a 3-level apartment.
Oh, the Maximilian estate.
Yeah, and I was like, damn, how rich is this guy? Like, he has a house in a house.
Yeah, there's actually another roof under the roof, right?
Yeah, and nothing's on there. I was a bit disappointed. I was
yes, I went up there to see.
Actually, there is a ring there. It's
oh
one
no!
of the secrets.
Next.
I didn't get all the secrets. I'll be honest. I got 4 when I was playing, and I was like, I think I was thorough, and I ended the mission to see, you know, how close I got, and there was 12, and I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
What did I miss?
But the replayability is high.
But yeah, actually, regarding Maximilian Estate, I should give a shout out to my friend French Decay, because Maximilian Estate is well, not exactly a replica, but it's heavily inspired by one of his abandoned missions, which I always liked. And well, that library section and the dining room under the glass roof.
Yeah.
I really like that idea, and I told him, well, dude, I don't want it to go to waste, so can I like repurpose it for Feast? And he was like, yeah, okay. So
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So that's actually pretty nice, because, you know, I think there are so many abandoned missions that would have turned out great. This could have been one of them. But
I myself haven't really looked at Life of the Party while working on it, but I think both Rob and I also had another major source of inspiration, which is wait, how do I even pronounce this author's name? The guy who made Thieves Highway and The Power of Suggestion.
okay.
Yeah. I always said I probably am pronouncing it correctly, but I always said Unkedonigo, I think.
Yeah, Unkedonigo.
Yeah.
So I also took a lot of inspiration from his missions.
Okay. Yeah, so yeah, Thieves Highway is actually a rooftop mission as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think one of the better known, actually, I think. but maybe because of the name. One thing before you forgot that you guys wanted to be reminded of something that happened, maybe because what led to almost not releasing the mission, or what was that?
Yeah, so it was my fault.
Of course.
So when we were going into beta, people were noticing that it was starting to take longer and longer and longer to load quick saves. And eventually it would reach a point where if you saved, it would just crash. It would just crash. The whole game would just crash.
By eventually, you mean 7 minutes.
7 minutes, that's right.
Yeah, 7 minutes from start.
Yeah, so basically what happened is you remember in the crypt section there's a room that has a haunt that is like lying down, and if you make noise it gets up.
Yeah.
There's a golden vase that it's kind of like guarding, I guess. And when I first put that there, it was really sloppily scripted, and I put for some stupid reason, I put an AI watch object link from the haunt to the torch that's right there. So it was adding I can't remember the meta property that it was adding, but as long as because I wanted it as soon as it became alert, because it's sleeping basically, and when you make noise it wakes up, and then I wanted it to immediately go on patrol because I wanted to have the haunt go after the thieves that are down there. And so it's, even though it's asleep, the AI is continually watching this torch that's next to it and adding a meta property to it. And I think it added like how many every second? It was like an obscene amount.
Yeah, like 100 every second.
Yeah, every second. So as the mission goes on, so after about 7 minutes, it would basically overload the engine and crash. And it took us forever to find out what was causing this problem, because the whole map was made. So I had like 2 or 3 people just constantly like removing things from the mission and testing it until we found out where the source was coming from. And it took like how long? Like 2 days or maybe a whole day.
And we actually thought it was the lights first. And
yeah.
And we did remove lights. We removed all the torches in the crypt, and that fixed it.
Yeah.
And then Yandros came and he was like, "Well, guys, it's not the light."
Yeah. It was related to the light. So we thought it was the torches. But it was just because the haunt was watching one of the torches specifically.
How did you tackle this? Searching for this.
Well, we had multiple people all testing, and one person would be like, "Okay, I've deleted this entire section of the map, and I'm going to test." And then this other person would be like, "Okay, I deleted this section of the map, and I'm going to test." So we did it in like quadrants.
I see.
Yeah,
well,
and
we deleted all the lights in an area, like 100 of them.
Yeah, we did that too. Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I remembered, because I had to do something similar when Godbreaker was in. There was a similar problem there, except it wasn't actually with any of my scripting. It was just a texture that was bad that was added to the area.
So you make betas exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, I've also had to search for a spot. I think it was the co-planner error that you get, and I just couldn't find it with the coordinates that it gave me, because there was too much that it was very, 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 very layered mission. And maybe this helps somebody in the audience. But what I did was I did the deleting thing as well, but you just do the bisection. You just delete the half. You find out in which half the problem is, and when you find the problematic half, you repeat the process, and you just half it, and then you eventually come to the.
Yep.
It takes some time, but yeah.
What's funny is that we actually shipped the mission with that exact bug, just in a different place, and some people would still crash after some time.
Wasn't it like 3 hours or something?
Yeah, well, it wasn't from the start. It was from the moment they put the smuggler's package into the crate. It would
Okay.
also add meta properties, but like 2 a second, not 100. So it would take about a couple of hours and still crash. Yeah, but we fixed it pretty fast. So yeah,
That was Yandros' fault.
Yeah. If you're planning on playing it, make sure to download version 1.1.
All right. I mean, we'll see. If PLIGRIMS doesn't hit that spot, nobody will.
I needed 2.5 hours, so I'm fine. But when you just we already mentioned that package and the crate several times. So it's not just the main mission. So it's not only that you start at that one point and you have that goal to collect this chalice, I think it was, and the map. You also have some side action all over the place. So you have, I think someone gives you like a contract at the beginning. You have that from the start, and then you can read through that, and then you get some additional goals.
You have to buy it.
Right. You have to buy.
Well,
Right.
it's free, but you have to buy it, and I've seen some people miss it.
Yep.
What a strange design decision, or was that on purpose? Like,
on purpose.
What is the thought behind that?
If the contract would have been in the player's inventory from the start, they might miss it. But since they are forced to take it, well, not buy it, it's free. Since they are forced to put it in their inventory at the start, they are less likely to forget about it, and thus more likely to read it right away.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah,
but so they'd see it in the list and they'd at least click, because most people get the tips and stuff when they're playing for the first time, and especially if they see that it's free, they're gonna get it. Unless they're the type of person that, if we put it in their inventory at the beginning, I guess we could do something like lock a window until they read it or something, but we'd rather not do that.
Or give it a goal, like read your notes before or whatever.
For the people that never read anything and skip all cutscenes and then complain that there's no story.
I usually read it, but in many missions I found myself, being on the half of it, and at that point I'd cycle through my inventory and then, oh shit, I have something here which I didn't know I had at the start.
But you could have made Connell say something like at the beginning, "Oh, I should read my notes," or something like that. That would be like a hint. But I think the design decision is actually I can relate to that it's more presentable or better presented in the shop menu than if you just cycle through your inventory.
Well, it does diminish the supreme ghosting style, where you can't buy anything from the shop, and therefore you'd be, prevented.
It would actually make it easier because you don't have to complete them.
Yeah, that's true. But usually, if you're a supreme ghoster, you're not really going for the easy. Though sometimes it does help, yeah.
So, but we imagine that people read the note or the contracts, so they have access to the side quests, and there are, I think is it 3 contracts, right, that you can fulfill?
Yes, it's 3 jobs.
But then
all of them are optional.
Yeah, and then there are also like not contracted side quests you will uncover during the mission. But can we go through them in order? First there is, or not first, but one of the is like pretty simple. You just have to find like some random dude and get that little package, and then you have to put it in that crate, right? And so that is pretty simple. But
actually, I thought that one. Sorry to interrupt, but I thought that one was the most complex of the 3. I remember putting the package back in, and it just didn't complete, and I had to read it again. You have to put the key back, and
I had the same issue, but I think it was pretty, self-explaining with the readables or with the objective. But next you had a question, because there's that mechanist thing the mechanist with the eye. Can you please explain what that little side quest is about and what are your assumptions?
So, well, I was in a couple of stages of wondering about that thing. I know there was Karis in the mission, which is lovely. Since I mentioned it, just a little bit of a touch from the original story to see him split from the hammers, and in the mission we find this crazy mechanist who's very paranoid, and at first I thought.
Can you maybe explain what the quest is about in first place?
Sorry. Well, the quest is to find to steal the mechanical eye that the mechanists have invented, and it turns out that it's actually Karis who invents this mechanical eye, and there's an intriguing readable in there as well, which is from Karis, and it explains my question that I posed to you a few days ago, that who is the insane guy? The character himself explains that this is I can't remember the name right now. Something with a V.
Vedas. Yeah.
Vedas. He stole the gear, and he kind of locked himself in top of this tower. But when I was first there, I thought the crazed guy was a Karis, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Because it sort of made sense, like, the guy locking himself up, being super paranoid, a little bit crazy. But yeah. Oh, sorry. I was at the note, and in the note it says that Karis, he says, this crazy guy, he ran off with my gear that unlocks the storage container where the eye is, and he writes, how will I befriend Garrett now? I was wondering, is that a nice little addition of yours, or is this something that's known from the original story that was Karis's plan?
I guess maybe Andy wants to answer that one.
We know from the original games that Karis made the mechanical eye when he was still a Hammerite. So I don't know. It's never said that he wanted to befriend Garrett. That's just an assumption on our part. But I don't know. Actually, I think, Rob, you wrote that the journal.
Well, there's a part in Thief 2 where Karis is talking to
in Soulforge. He reveals that he made the eye.
Well, he does that, and he also says that he wanted to be an ally of Garrett.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's where that readable comes in from, and so we wanted to tie it to Thief 2 more strongly, I suppose, and having you steal the actual eye. Like that is the eye you steal is actually Garrett's mechanical eye, and it actually is the texture that I put on it is the actual eye texture from one of the cutscenes that I just took from the cutscene.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's where the cutscene where Garrett is like working on his mechanical eye, and the keepers come and knock. I took that texture and put it and used it for the object.
Time-wise, actually puts this mission before the finale of Thief 1, because Garrett already has the eye by that point.
Yep.
So this is an ingenious way to connect your story of the, let's say, Godbreaker series and what's going on also in the city, to connect it to the Thief 2 original stories. This is such an ingenious way, I think. You take something from the original games. First of all, you have like an Easter egg, like something people can relate to, and we all love that, of course. But then it is like put into a very clever little story, and it also has some humor to it, like that you are actually stealing the eye, and it gives you an idea in what time period we are at the moment, so that the I think Karis, so at that point, is still a Hammerite.
The very beginning of formation of mechanists, I'd say.
Yeah.
Because we could assume that the mechanists emerged already during the time of Thief 1 story. It's just not shown to us, but we can assume that.
But or okay, I got the impression that maybe he's officially still a Hammerite, but also he's already like making his plans, you know, in the back and high. But yeah.
Well, no, he actually is a mechanist, and he's got at least one other person, two other people with him, because there's actually a letter that you read if in the library from one Hammerite to another that talks about how Karras left and is living right next door. You know, has the nerve to live right next door, type of thing.
All right.
And
Okay.
This mechanist order is just a passing fad.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. A blink in a lifetime, a drop in the river. That one got me.
Yep.
Yeah, but this is like, you know, like just a little side quest that gives you so much of lore and story. Yeah, I really like that. So and then next, what was the third side quest? That
The third side quest was to get the grape seeds,
Yeah.
which was I guess the least exciting of three. Still,
Yeah.
still, I do love these side quests because it's just, usually it could be very stale if you have a very big mission. You see, you have a whole map, and then you have to break into a certain place and steal something, and that's everything, right?
Yeah.
It's nice to also I hate sometimes when you have loot goals that they're too high and you have to make your way across all of the city, visit everything. This one kind of has like, you have to enter like 4 sections. You can miss a few parts, you can or not depending on how you choose, but it makes it more full. I enjoyed doing the 3 optional quests.
Yeah, the grape seeds, I think a lot of people probably picked up on it, but it's kind of a loving nod to a TTLG member, who, like, until the day they stopped posting, as far as I know, always thought that the plums are actually a cluster of grapes. So
I saw that discussion. Yeah.
yeah, so they're not; they're plums. But he always was adamant that they were a cluster of grapes. So we decided to invent healing grapes to put in the mission. There's actually a bunch of little small ones you can pick off the vine in there, if you noticed.
Yeah.
I haven't seen anyone do that, actually.
I haven't either. Yeah.
Or didn't you explain that in the Godbreaker episode already? Like I don't know, but I heard of it, or I read that that someone thought that, but I'm just trying to get it where I was hearing from it. But very clever. So, but then there's and I thought this was pretty geniusly put into that. First of all, there is a mage tower, which is, in my opinion, a total reference to Life of the Party, right?
Well, yeah, the shape of the tower and everything was definitely inspired by the Necromancer's Tower in Life of the Party. Yeah.
And you gave me like the feeling that, okay, when I will read the readable that is in there, and when I stop reading it, then there will be a zombie like in the original mission. But it didn't happen, so you fooled me there. But what actually, and this is so ingenious, and we have to make a big jump. So this gives you a hint, because later there is like a demon kind of thing that forces you, or not, it doesn't force you, but it convinces you to free him, and you need certain elements for that, so that you can collect all over the city. And you don't need only to collect them, but with some of them you also need to interact before. You need to prepare them, and then when you finally do what is necessary to free the demon, actually he fools you. But and I found that out thanks to Nex. If you read the notes in the mage carefully, then it actually gives you a hint how to solve this to your benefits.
Yes.
And this was so clever. And what I'm wondering, like at the beginning, you told us the story, like how lazy you were in between, over several months or weeks creating this mission, and then you came up, you finished that thing. You've been ready for the contest with the release, and you also put so many little things and details in that. How did you pull that off? Like, are things like that on your mind already, and you just take them from your archives in your brain and you add them, or did you have so much fun with it and your inspiration was like overflowing? Or how did that work?
I don't remember exactly how the demon quest came about. It was one of the last things we did, though, and I remember because initially I was going to have a puzzle within that mage tower.
Yeah,
I was just going to have a puzzle in there to get just like an artifact that would do something. Basically, I was going to have some kind of healing cup, I think, chalice. But then I think it was Andy who pointed out that was we're already after like a healing chalice. Like it's kind of silly to have two. So we ended up not doing a puzzle in there, and then coming up with like the demon summoning side quests. And
when we were just brainstorming the story, Rob didn't really like the straightforward approach of just break into the church and steal a chalice or the maps or whatever and just leave. And he wanted to do something cooler with that. And he mentioned at one point that he wanted some priests performing satanic rituals in the attic. Yeah. So yeah, I took that idea and ran with it. So I made it, what you call it, summoning circle, and it just rolled from there.
Yep. And then we were able to tie it to Broken Goddess with some of the letters that you can find and read, which will become more clear when you actually start playing Broken Goddess. When you'll recognize some of the stuff. But it was very vague because there's like definitely the letters between Brother Devon and another mysterious character like reveal that there's a lot more going on somewhere out there. But it doesn't directly relate to this mission. And actually, one thing I did want to mention, maybe people don't realize, but the amazing demon voice is actually the same voice actor that plays Connell. It's my buddy Jim, Master Thief 3. So that conversation between Connell and the demon is Jim talking to himself in different voices.
I thought it was you.
No.
I thought that you did the demon voice and you just put some effects on it, but that's interesting.
I was going to do it because I usually do voices like that, but he wanted to try it. And I was like, yeah, because he can do a lot of voices that just, it doesn't even sound anything like each other. You can't even tell it's the same person.
Yeah, so, you told us last time, I know.
He's a talented guy.
Yeah, what I think
Steven Russell, his,
about his voice, I think you see that in just little details, not just only the actual lines he's saying, but every time you climbed or something or you get hurt, those sounds are made so well. They are very believable, and I think they don't lack in quality from the original Steven Russell sounds he made. For that.
He actually, when he recorded all of the mantling sounds and stuff, he pretty much wanted to copy exactly just a Connell version of Steven Russell's, noises, and he actually lessened the quality intentionally to make them like match the quality of the original sounds.
It's sometimes harder, like to copy something or to make an impression of it, let's say, than just coming up with something totally unique. As I said, like when I did for another mission, like I went for totally different voices, and the creators just wanted like something that is similar to what they already know. So I think that was a great choice, and it works, but the mantling sounds are the same like in the Godbreaker, right? You didn't re-record that.
Yeah, all of the player sounds are just taken right from Godbreaker. Yeah,
which makes totally sense.
Yeah.
I think in Thief 1 and 2 did the same. But yeah, to that demon, what I really love, this is one of my favorite moments of the whole mission, and it's so simple. But to get to that demon, you need to get up to that tower we were already mentioning, and then there's a ladder. And of course, you want to go up that ladder, and then you look up, and then there's already that head of that Hemorrhoid, like greeting you, and
that was handy. Yeah,
that was, it was, of course, like it's scary at the first time, and it's like so much humor in that. I totally loved that in my second playthrough as well. It was like, yeah, right, amazing, hello, guy. And
I put in an unused stock ambient sound in there that I love, but it ended up being too loud and overriding the conversation, so we had to take it out. But
yeah.
Actually, the first thing you're supposed to see is the blood dripping
Yes.
to the ceiling.
which, of course,
But that is the thing. Like, you see that blood, and you're like, okay, there has to be something, But no one, everybody would expect that you see something when you are up there, But here you already see something strange when you are just looking up the ladder, where you want to go. And that head was best mission ever. But yeah, so you have that. I think, to be honest, the collecting of the things and like especially that Crayman egg. I asked you in private because I didn't remember what to do there. I think this is like a bit too much of running around the whole place. It can be a bit frustrating. And then if you didn't get the hint from the message from the mage or whatever he is, then this can be really disappointing.
Yeah. Yes, that was kind of my fault. I intentionally wanted to do that.
I know. I can imagine that.
I think Andy actually suggested that we don't have the demon trick the player but I don't know. I like the idea of the demon totally intending to trick you the entire time, because these things, can't be trusted. They're not.
From the beginning when he gives you the task, like, okay, he will play a game with me, but I think, and that is another clever thing. Sorry to interrupt, but I think this is like a hint to Connell's personality, because already in Godbreaker, and you already mentioned at the beginning of this episode, that he's very curious and he wants to suck in everything and he wants to know, and of course he can't resist that. So he has to do it, to see what happens. So that is, you have so many levels of things that you are telling us with a whole little side quest. That's amazing. But please go on.
I was just going to finish up and say that, I wanted it to have where the demon's intending to trick you the whole time. But then if you take the note from the mage, Connell knows that the demon is going to trick him. So he has something else in his sleeve. He's going to trick the demon in return by doing the holy water. And then you get that kind of satisfying Connell quip of safe travels.
If you are smart like Nex.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're
I didn't get that,
Thank you.
Nex had to tell me, and then it was like, yes, of course. And I was
even the people who read that note in the Mage Tower, like I've seen on stream, not always make the connection.
Yeah, as I said.
But what's even funnier that I've seen somebody do the ritual and get tricked and be like, well, of course it's what happens. They weren't even surprised.
And of course, but the thing is that what I said, to collect all the ingredients can be a bit annoying, and especially like remembering the drill. I was at the drill very early in the mission, and then later I got the Crayman egg, and I didn't remember that place.
Yeah,
so this is like very cryptic.
That's
the drill is
kind of my fault.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But initially, I was gonna, instead of the demon just disappearing and taking the ruby with him. I was going to have him like kill the player, but we decided just that he should probably just leave instead. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but of course, as I said, some people will figure it out like Nex, and then it's an amazing thing. Then you feel like really smart. I just felt disappointed.
Did anybody honestly not save before starting before starting to do it though? I mean, because
of course I saved. I just had 7 minutes for the mission, so because I was still playing the beta. Psychosis sent me, and no, everybody. I made a hard save. Even I do that very rare.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely save before everything, but
we wanted to have all the ingredients spaced out to where it takes up like the whole map. So we were using the whole map, and I know that a lot of people find that annoying, especially if they've already been playing for a long time. But
yeah, I think I've placed all of them, and I made sure to place them not too far from the cathedral wall. Like, you wouldn't need to go to the very start of the mission, for example. You can just exit the cathedral on the west and re-enter it from the east and get everything on the way. If you know what you're looking for, of course.
Yeah, but I think if you are the creator of the mission, of course you already, you know your map. But as a new player, I think this can be a bit, as I said, frustrating. But yes, there you can do it this way, you can do it that way, and both ways have their benefits. What I liked is that things are hinted very well, especially like where you have to like mash the monker head. There's a note like from that. He must be a real asshole, that a guy who's like writing the letters to so many people, and one letter is said to the butcher, where he mentions like, hey, when you asked me using that machine, I didn't know that you will crush I don't know, whatever
rats.
think it's rats, right? So it was bloody and stuff like that. So that was a big hint, like when you get the monker head then, or you maybe already have it, like, oh, wait, this can be something. I was just wondering where Connell has the vial, from where, like suddenly he has like that little bottle with monker mash.
I just remember playing through the town. I was near the cathedral, nowhere near Mage Tower, and I stumbled upon the oil. And as soon as I got the oil, I knew there were some puzzles coming, and it got me very excited.
Yeah, I think
bit of useless trivia. Tattleshank is the character from the original game, from Life of the Party, actually. There is a note from him in the bank that you steal the diamonds from.
Huh.
Right.
I think there's a note from him in the actual bank mission too, isn't there?
That might be.
Yeah, in the bank, there is a note from him like, you are guarding these diamonds, and if they are not here in the morning, then I'll make them come out of your backside, or something like that.
You are. What is going on in your genius brains that you have so many things that are interconnected? And wow.
I wonder if I'd have to go through all the Thief 2 missions to see if you missed a reference to one of them, because it seems like we've had shipping, receiving, we had Life of the Party, just we had the bank. Now it just keeps going on.
Let's tell them the most disappointing part that wasn't mentioned in that mission from the original Godbreaker, and why it is the worst mission ever for you. Because someone was missing.
You are free to find other references to other missions, and if you find one, I can just pretend that it was intended. I can just be like, yeah, totally, we meant to do that. Yeah,
No, but next, please explain what you were looking all over the map and couldn't find anything about it.
Oh yeah. I was so excited. Once again, we're gonna circle back to the first situation that you put me in, but after getting past that, I was just looking, street level 2 up. Just where's this face changer? I want more of this guy. And then and every time I would see something, was like, maybe nah, it must be more. When I got to the demon, I was like, this has to be it. I mean, it was enough of the mission to pull me in. Despite, I mean, Alex, I think, was it you who corrected me and said that there will be more in the upcoming Godbreaker mission?
Yeah, in the goddess, what is
Broken Goddess. Yeah.
Broken Goddess?
Uh-huh.
Because you mentioned that in the sequel to Godbreaker there will be more about the face changer. But I think Nex thought like, oh yeah, this is the next Godbreaker themed mission, so yeah, there has to be some face changing in it. But but at the end of the mission, he changed his face.
Yeah,
Well said.
He was in there, and that's such another genius way of.
Yeah, actually, you find the face changer is there's an Easter egg that you can.
I found the. Okay, let's go there. There's a few things that I wasn't able to find. I think there were three. Two of them are not important, but one of them was a readable that was named Easter Egg 1.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Is that the one that's that has reference to face changer?
No, it has a reference to the Easter egg that you found.
I didn't find it. I just saw it in the readable. The text says
There's a trolley Easter egg that Marbleman thought was hilarious to put in there, and there's a text that's like one of however many, and there's not any others.
Yeah, if you look through the files, there are actually 3 of them, like the hidden scroll or whatever. 1 out of 3, then 2 out of 3, and 3 out of 3. But there's actually only one of them in the mission.
You are an evil bastard. So, but that's why I can see why you get along so well with Random Taffer, because there are things, but in general, you guys seem to have really, really fun with all of this, because there is so much humor in that. And I have to say, a lot of boys' childish humor, which I actually like. You mentioned the armory code before, and I think that is something. As I said, people play the mission before you listen. Because. I know that I found the code in my first playthrough, but in the second I couldn't. And then I asked you again, like where to look, and you told me, and I went up there and was like, "Oh wait, yeah, there was something here." And then so the captain has the code, and he has it in his apartment.
Mm-hmm.
You get that through a note from the guards where they say like, "Oh, don't forget it, because then we have to get to his apartment." So okay, there has to be an apartment somewhere, and you get up there, and I think it is somewhere mentioned already, like from some neighbor or something like that he's strange or like behaving strange, and then you get into his apartment, and there's like papers everywhere. And of course, first of all, you think like, oh, maybe now when I click on them, I will maybe find some, started but aborted love letters to someone. And it's kind of that. But
yeah, it's
like started and finished love letters to.
It's
someone.
like letters, I suppose, of like admiration in a way for.
He put a lot of his inner side into those letters.
That was some like kind of dumb, immature humor that we put in there just to make people laugh, and it worked. Like there's some people that were telling me they were like dying laughing reading them. So
that was amazing. It's so funny, and there's so many of that. And when we are like, I think one, it is like for the player, it is like a little side quest, because right when you start the mission, you get, that is so, I laughed my ass off. You start in that little building or whatever, and then you jump out on the platform, and you walk some meters, and it doesn't take, let's say, a minute or two until you hear like a cracking glass, like, and then someone is screaming all over the streets. And I had so much fun because like suddenly you read a note about like that creepy guy that it sneaks up to
Mhm.
women and watches them through the windows, and then you can already make a connection. And this is all at the start. And then you have like another little side quest because you want to know what's happening, because throughout the mission you encounter situations where you can overhear like guards almost catching him.
Yeah.
Then you want to get more and more of that, and that was amazing. But what is that all about? How did you come up with that?
So
Please
that
explain.
yeah, no problem. I can explain. There was we came up with the idea of having like a lunatic that was running around, and it would just be kind of funny to hear something happening in the city where you can hear. There's several different spots where you can hear him like, trying to break into places, and you hear guards chasing him and stuff like that. It came from, I can't remember the specific mission that we played. What's that?
Me neither. I can't explain. I can't remember which mission it was.
There's a mission by Cardia that we played that there's a character in there that is like yelling, and for some reason
he's like being tortured or something.
Yeah, I can't remember what mission it is. It's one of his, but like the screams in there that I think he did them. Actually, I think
He did them.
I think it's him, but we liked them. We thought they were great, and we were like, I wonder if he would care if we used them for the mission. So we went ahead and took them anyway, and then credited, of course, credited him in the readable, and he luckily he seemed to like it. So we were worried that he might not like it, but he ended up liking it. So
Yeah, but I think Cardia is such a chill dude. Yeah.
He's a bro. He took it like a good sport. Yeah.
Yeah,
a lot more than we hoped for. Yeah.
Yeah, I read his post on the thread about the mission. And yeah, he was pretty genuine, happy about it.
Yep. And then we came up with like the idea of the band that was from the opposite continent, from across the Virilli Ocean, which is why he's speaking Portuguese, I believe.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but that was actually his only, the only thing that he might not have liked, that we named it Los Cabrones, which is a Spanish name, and he's speaking Portuguese.
Yeah.
So he was offended.
No, I don't think so.
Not really. I don't think so.
No, but I can understand, like especially with the Spanish and Portuguese, people are very sensitive, I think.
Well, they're I mean, because they're pretty close to each other. It's just like, pronunciation.
Yeah, but I think British people are very proud of their British English,
Yeah.
And like I was one day I was asking a British person like, what do you call this bug? And is it a ladybug? And he's like, no, it's a ladybird. So yeah, it's very important. Little details.
Some people in the States here that are trying to be sophisticated will say ladybird as well.
I'm living in Switzerland, and they are talking a very, very tortured German.
They'll also say they'll say films instead of movies because they think it's more sophisticated. Yeah.
That's
fine.
It's not a store; it's a shop. Yeah, but yeah, that also was like not just an Easter egg, and it was also like a little side quest. But you are not forced to do that, but you engage the player to get curious, and maybe my interpretation is way more than you actually put into that, but it's you get like Connell, like you're curious and you want to know, and speaking of the sounds, this brings me to the next thing I really appreciated about that mission, the sound atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Because that no matter where you are, there's always like something going on the streets just by sounds, and like there's that Burrick scream. I couldn't figure that out. Why? Maybe I think I missed it.
I actually include that Burrick scream in every city mission I do. It's
Yeah.
it's in Godbreaker as well.
In Mission
Yeah.
4 of Godbreaker, yeah,
So
Burricks
it's
are
just-
constantly screaming.
Yeah,
So-
and in Mission 1 too. Yeah.
So it's just an Easter egg, so like a random TAFFER thing.
No, I wouldn't say it's an Easter egg. I like the sound of distant Burricks. I think it sounds really cool. So
I agree.
yeah, I put it in.
But
Maybe they're breaking into some place. They're digging into some.
Maybe there is a Burrick farm in the city, you know?
Yeah.
so you imagine the city like if you live in the city, like all the time you have constant screamings of Burricks or Chewbacca's.
Well, I mean, I think you can hear. I think it's more just that the Burrick roar, I guess, or moan like carries so far you can hear it from a long ways away. So I don't know. Sorry,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Andy?
No.
Like I'm not planning on having any Burrick screams in Bond, for instance, in Broken Goddess. So because it's a lot more of a posh place. So
And what you also did, and I like that. For example, there's that you took like original sound files, like that drunken guard, but it sounded to me like you put some extra effect on it, so the echo sounded a bit more believable when it gets up to you as the player. Am I right?
Yeah, no, I did. I definitely did. I altered the volume level and I added reverb because I wanted it to feel like it was at various distances from wherever the player is.
Yeah.
Actually, my favorite, the favorite conversation that I made from stock lines, besides the sermon, is one that is it's towards the beginning in the posh area when you go up into this little office, and you overhear the Benny guard talking to the Dan Thrawn smart guard.
Yeah.
And they have a conversation where clearly the smart guard is very annoyed that the Benny guard is trying to talk to him, keeps interrupting him with sighs and stuff. That's probably my favorite conversation that I put in there. I worked hard on that one.
I remember that one very clearly because you can he starts talking like about what is going on in his private life or something like that.
Yeah.
You can always hear like that he's totally annoyed, and then at the end I think he says something like, "I think you should go back on your patrol" or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think that is always very genius, with all the I use that word so much today, but the reworking like the lines we have heard so much already, but giving them new context is very creative, actually, I think, and if you can make something like that out of that, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
So I still wonder how you found the time for all that.
Oh yeah, the sermon took me like a whole day to do. My favorite part of the sermon is actually the chanting that happens at the end. Where
Let's explain shortly. So because there is the Feast of the Pilgrim, so all the Hammerites are at one place.
And all the Hammerites are called to St. Ives to attend the Pilgrims Feast, basically, which is what the mission is called, and that's why Connell decides to go and take the map, because all of the hammers are basically called to the main sanctuary, so there's not going to be very many of them up around where the artifacts are guarded. So, and
you are, as the player, are able to, I think, at least 2 doors to listen to the whole ceremony or parts of it. And
I think there's 3. Yep,
or 3. And so I think we talked about this already in the contest review episode, but please explain. How did you work that? Because Psychosis said it's about several minutes, 6 or 7 minutes long.
Yeah, it's pretty long.
So did you cut together like original lines, or how did you? Because 6 or 7 minutes must be very lot of material to reconnect to a new thing.
Yeah, at first it was just going to be the chanting, because that's what I did first. It was because I noticed because the Hammer 3 from Thief 1 is my favorite hammer voice. It's the same. It's Jeffrey, whatever his name is. I'm trying to think. He does the same voice as Constantine.
Yeah.
He's got like such a great voice, and that Hammerite voice is my favorite. So I noticed when he was doing some of the chanting to himself in his lines that it sounded very like rhythmic and almost musical. So I wanted to have like a call and response thing. So I had him do his chanting lines, and then all of the other Hammerites, I would take their Hammer, Anvil, Forge and Fire line, and like I put them all together. I put many of them and layered them and spaced them out so that there would be a little bit of a delay, so it sounds like there's a crowd talking. And it took me like a whole day to do. And then eventually I just listened through all of the source lines until I could cobble together kind of a very sermon-y sounding thing where it kind of sounds like he's carrying a cohesive thought from one beginning to the end about how he's disappointed and they need to rise up and take control over the city because of like growing sin and all that stuff. So I wanted to do that. So I wanted to make a very angry, fire and brimstone sermon. And then of course the amazing art that Whale Oil does. I had him draw two pictures that I used for the cutscene, which is the picture of Father Ira giving that fiery sermon and pounding pound this nail with me, sermon to the others. And then he also drew that picture of Connell on the rooftops that I used in the briefing video as well. He's our concept artist for Broken Goddess, and his work is just out of this world, how good it is and how quick. I asked him to do those two drawings, and he had both of them to me within just a few hours. Like, it's crazy.
Okay.
That was a long tangent. I'm sorry, I kept going on about that. Sorry about that.
No, it's cool. We asked, but there's a lot of stuff like that in it. But next, please go on with one of your thoughts and questions.
Well, for one, I'd like to touch, since we're talking about the cathedral, about the sermon. Thank you for making a mission where Garrett infiltrates a place at an opportune time instead of exactly when somebody else commits a murder and there's police from the whole country there. I felt it was much more believable. And in the line of this believability, if that's a word, when we talked all from sounds on the street and little things that play out, like this little thief running behind a couple at some point,
Mm-hmm.
up to the goings on in the cathedral. I really love the broken wall with the scaffolding, which kind of and there's a readable that says brethren should stay away from the crypts, and then the thieves take this as a chance and they go in and take it, and you have the novices taking a stroll through the garden while the sermon is going on and have a little conversation. It just, everything kind of seems like very believable in that whole section. And to go on from there, I when I talked previously about my problems with entering the west or the east section, I was a little bit worried what I was about to encounter coming to the cathedral, because it was my thought, and it's just because of the statistic. Once you reach that final place, that it's going to be another level of challenge, right? It's gonna get harder. But once I got into Cathedral, I loved like I said, that there weren't too many guards. Even the final objectives, it was not like there's 7 guards watching over that. There was a challenge, but just enough of a challenge and not too much of a challenge. It was a very great balance there.
Did you, just out of curiosity, did you ever try tripping the alarm and then see what would happen if you did?
I was gonna say the same.
Yes, I did, but can you remind me what happened? Because I reloaded as soon as that happened.
I'll let Andy explain that because he set it up.
Yeah, when you walk into the reliquary, if the periscopes are active, it's the only way to activate the alarm. And the mission doesn't fail, but you have about 12 new Hammerites spawning all over the cathedral. and they are all on high alert, and it's actually pretty fun to try to escape from there.
And also the one thing that I did is
Fun.
the sermon changes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so if you trip the alarm, the sermon changes to sounds of Hammerites searching, and like in the like if you go by near the doors, you can hear the high priest saying like, "Wolf, find him," and all this stuff. So like it changes to like the sounds of Hammerites searching all over the place.
Huh.
It's amazing.
Indeed, I thought I was going through the mission thoroughly and checking everything. I mean, I go through the files, but I'm amazed at how many things I actually missed.
There's also a giant Hammerite that Andy.
Unfortunately, the giant Hammerite seems to get stuck on the staircase.
Yeah, he can't fit through the small door. But he's like a giant Hammerite, and he hits you once. And what is it, like one hit that kills you? I think if he nails you or something, or is it two?
Something like that.
Yeah, he's got like a giant hammer.
Those are some great ideas. I would very much like to see somebody execute a mission where, because a lot of times there's a perfect way to do stuff. I didn't actually play, but I saw some playthroughs of the undercover mission. Is it there that you cannot avoid alarm unless you're breaking the game?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's actually why I hate that mission.
Yeah,
I see.
As soon as you take the talisman, the alarm goes off no matter what.
Yeah.
I mean,
But one question in between, isn't that a lot of effort you put into something most people won't see, because in general you would reload?
Yes, that's that is something that I think both Andy and I are that way. Like even though we know that's actually something that Russ, Yandros, myself, and Andy kind of banter back and forth about, where I'll like make a suggestion like we need to do this, and then Yandros will be like, yeah, but most players aren't going to notice that. I'm like, you know what? I don't care. We're implementing it anyway because it's believable and it seems like it makes sense. So yeah.
So and that's why this format exists, that people will find out on this and listening to you talking about it. But next, go on with yours.
Yeah. So let me move on. This was.
I was interrupting you, because I think this was fitting into the conversation, and you wanted to add something, I think.
Oh no, that probably something minor. Can't remember, but yeah, the thoughts were. But since we are at the cathedral, and we did talk about it, but I'd like to say it again that it was one of I think my favorite part of the mission was the bell tower with the dripping blood and coming up there. It was. Actually, I got there before I got into the Brother Devon's office, and actually because I entered the whole cathedral from the east side of the town, and of course first I went to the bell tower. It immediately changed my expectation about cathedral. Once you're thinking about what's.
It's funny that you mentioned earlier, like having the player infiltrate a place where at an opportune time, but at the same time we kind of did have something happen. Like we there is a dead body and there's something bad that happened. But I guess the player, it very likely in the story very recently happened just before the player got there. So
yeah, I mean the
blood's
not dry.
Yeah, Connell is not the only one taking an opportunity.
Yeah.
Again, another believable thing, right?
Yeah, both the group of thieves, and then also the follower of Iluz.
Yeah.
In the tower.
Also, can we touch a little bit about the brother Devon? I love the whole structure where this brother Devon, who seems like is second or almost second in command below brother Ira, and he's hiding. He has some plans. At first, we find some letters between this Mr. D and Mr. B, right? Of course, Mr. D clearly is Devon.
Yeah.
One of my questions was who is B, but I might have a couple of questions that feel free not to answer, since we are in the middle of a ongoing series here. But yeah, who is B?
So that
Spoiler that it's one of the characters from Broken Goddess, which you will see more of. Yeah, it's not a big spoiler.
All right, because I obsessed a little bit about it. I tried to think about who this B is.
Barris.
I know.
Bufford,
Well, there is
Bufford.
there is the dead Hammerite ghost, named Brother Beerus, that's in the graveyard. But yeah,
I mean, I know. I have my theories, but I know that in one of the letters between B and Devon, B says that he's been I don't know, watched by some guy by the name of G in Lampfire Hills. So this B guy must have been in Lampfire Hills at that point, and there's another character in Feast of Pilgrims, which starts with the letter B, and through the readables, we know that he does come or has a residence in Lampfire Hills. Am I in the dead waters, or is there something behind this?
no, you're right. I mean, he will come into it more later, and it's somebody that is in Lampfire Hills, but Lampfire Hills, doesn't. Connell's in Silver Smoke District, so he's not in Lampfire Hills. But the character that's writing the letter does not appear in this mission.
Okay.
Yep.
Don't worry, you'll see more of him.
I can't wait.
A lot more. Yeah.
Can I just make a quick question?
Sure, go ahead.
Since in the last episode with you, Rob, you already told us like that you like to think of stories and stuff like that. But I'm really impressed how much interconnectivity goes through all of this, and I really appreciate the challenge, or maybe it's just a pleasure for you. I can imagine, like, okay, you start that Godbreaker thing. So, and then this contest comes on, and you just, you think of like taking part, and then over the creation of it, you figure out, oh yeah, this will be like a great Connell mission. And so, of course, you are already working on the goddess and the broken goddess thing. But how do you come up? Is there so much in your both minds? Because I think you both added a lot to the lore here. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean,
just give me a yes or no, because I will go on with my question then.
Yeah.
But is that always in the back of your head? Like, okay, I can do this with that, and then this will lead back to the original Godbreaker, and we can make a little hint or an interconnection here to the broken goddess. Like, how much lore is there, and how many readables we have to go through until then? How is there already like a universe that is already in your head, and you just need to express this through the missions, or how's that going on?
Well, there's a pretty loose overarching idea of what's going on in like the story, like the overall story is basically done. Like the most basic zoomed out view of the story is done for Broken Goddess, and we definitely took that and put it in here as well. But there's lots of little intricacies and side things that we haven't even conceived of yet that will naturally evolve as we build the missions. That's usually how I do it. I usually don't have an extremely detailed plan. I just have like a very basic overarching plan, and then everything kind of falls into place as I'm going, because I'm always thinking about characters and their motivations while I'm building their places of residence. And like I actually to try to make places look more lived in and believable, I actually do spend quite a bit of time like just walking around in game and pretending that I am the person who owns that place and thinking about where I would put things. Like, for instance, like, okay, let's say I'm reading a book here. Where would I put that book if I'm getting up to go get a glass of water or something? So then I like get up in game and look around and be like, okay, I'd probably put it right there on the table. So that like it takes a long time to do that, but I feel like it adds, it adds like a certain level of authenticity and lived-in feeling to the environments, I guess.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
also, since you were asking about having the universe in mind, I think that's also true, and it might even predate Broken Goddess, because missions by Rob and Yandros and also Tanner all happen in the sort of the same continuity. So Godbreaker and Death's Cold Embrace and the Dreamian Codex are all connected. And
That's right.
actually the crazy Hammerite, brother Vedast, appears in Dreamian Codex mission.
Yep.
That is amazing. First of all, thank you for your honest answer, and I think those answers are like the thing. That's why it's called Insight at Last, because those are those things we want to know. What was going on in the back. But I love that. That is really cool. And so you are like a club, and you all have your own stuff going, but you help each other out and you work together on things, and there's that huge universe. That is really cool. Maybe one day you have to make like a collection, like where you put all the missions like in one place, that people can replay all of the missions that might have something to do with each other, just with little things. But because when you play a fan mission from Yandros at that time, and then 3 years later you play yours, you don't make the connection, because you forgot, about little details of a single fan mission. But it really amazes me that you guys have so much going on in the back there. Wow,
That's a great idea, Supreme. This hasn't been done as far as I know. The mapping of the missions that interconnect together. That would be lovely to have that.
It has been done.
It has been?
Yeah. Well, another big campaign in development, the Black Parade. The members of the team and their missions, you can their thief, the previous contest, the thief, the Dark Project 20th anniversary contest,
TDP20AC.
They made Skaki made Sound of a Burrock in a Room, and DRK made Lost Among the Forsaken, and Firemage made The Whistling of the Gears, and those 3 missions are interconnected. There are plot threads that run through all 3 of them.
Damn.
Yep. I mean, I know that different missions have been referencing each other. I just don't know, and correct me on this, if there is a place where I could go, because like on the forums we have missions listed by type, which is
I see
super.
What you mean, like a directory of missions that connect to each other.
Exactly.
Like a Zelda timeline. This will be very difficult.
Yeah,
I was actually planning on connecting like when I was working on my contest entry for the Thief Gold 20th anniversary, which I never finished. I was actually planning on connecting that to the Black Parade, like Skaki's world. So I was actually consulting him on some of the lore and some of the district bosses and stuff like that, because the plan was to infiltrate the house of one of the district lords. What are they called? The like Ramirez.
The wardens.
Yeah.
It's next part.
Yeah, one of the wardens. I was gonna have you have to take something from there. So, yeah, and it was one of the wardens that Skaki had invented, I think.
So you guys create like it's like Inception. You guys create your own universe or universes within that already existing universe from the original game, and then you have your own. Like every author has their own little universe, but you interconnect between those. That is mind blowing.
I think It's kind of natural if people work together. They all share ideas among themselves and
we all
make something like unified.
Yeah, we all like beta test each other's missions and stuff. Like most of the I think most of the contest entries for this time that were the top ones, I think we kind of like beta tested each other's missions. It like felt like we were all. It kind of felt like we were all on the same team. Like even though we have our own individual missions that we submitted, we all like helped each other with each other's missions, and so to me anyway, it kind of felt like us as a family releasing like something all together. Even though that's how it felt to me anyway. It was very cool, a cool feeling.
Yeah, and it's great for the players, if they can see similarities and stuff like that. Cool, very interesting. So, next.
All right, I do have a couple of more questions.
I know.
Let me see which order. Okay, let's start with something just a little bit, like a reference. I didn't have the time to check, but we do have a potion of dispersal in this mission, referencing the scrolls of dispersion. If I do remember correctly, the scroll of dispersal is present in the 4th mission of Godbreaker. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Okay, one more reference which I already touched, but somewhere in the mission, this bee guy says that odd cloaked men skulking about Lampfire Hills are spying on him or something like that. Is that a direct reference to Garrett or not?
No, not to Garrett.
Okay, because I would have guessed it. It felt like it would be appropriate, but I think the timeline wouldn't work here. As far as I know, Lampfire Hills comes late into Garrett's years. And
you mean like the Ottoman Lampfire Hills mission by Pura? Is that by Pura? Yeah.
No,
it wasn't a reference to that.
But I do love the many Pura references in this mission, along with a couple of more. A lot of OM references. I'm trying
to remember if there are Pura.
There is a book called The Midnight in Murkball.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And there are at least 2 readables that mention Lampfire Hills.
Yeah.
Well, Lampfire Hills is an actual like district that's in the like the OMs.
Really, that's news to me.
I think Pura told us different because he said that Lampfire Hills was something from his novels, and that he was taking the name from that. We asked him that if this like is like a little playable lore from his books or whatever, and he said that this is from his mind. So
I could be wrong. It could be that I'm so like used to the name Lampfire Hills that I thought that it was an actual OM.
I can imagine that like so many of authors have referenced to Pura. That this
actually
is like
it's one of those creating a shared universe thing that so many authors reference Lampfire Hills. It's become like this part of the big shared fan universe.
Yeah, and I think this shows the legacy of Pura again.
Yeah, I mean, I do have one of Pura's books, and on the maps there's definitely Lampfire Hills.
Sorry,
then again, Pura is a writer, and he has a couple of books out.
Yeah, I've got his first one. I've got, what is it, the last page or something?
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one has Lampfire Hills in.
Yeah,
at least on the map. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I think it's just one of those things where I just assumed that it was. I'm so used to seeing the name that I just thought it was one of the OM districts. So I guess in the fan lore, it is like a district that exists in the city. I guess, but I didn't realize that Pura had actually invented it. That's cool.
I mean,
it's such a cool name too. Like I love that name.
Yeah.
Right. It's. I mean.
And imagine, like, when we have the Thief 50 anniversary contest, then people maybe would think about all of yours and Skeki's and whoever is taking part in your little universe or your big universe. Like they maybe would assume like, oh yeah, this has always been part of Thief. Who's Garrett, by the way? I just know Connell.
Yeah, wasn't it Connell who stopped the trickster?
Wasn't Stephen Russell just like adding voices to fan missions and and it was originally planned that Garrett Connell sounded like Sean Connery. So yeah, everything will be mixed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's really, really great. I really like this discussion here.
Yeah.
So
Russell actually might have mentioned that his first take on Garrett was a Scottish guy or something.
Yeah,
like that.
that was I didn't know that. Like that was when I heard that on the episode with Stephen Russell that his first attempt to do the Garrett voice was like a Sean Connery impression. I kind of wondered because I felt like once he said that, it sounded kind of familiar. So I wonder if I had heard him say that a long time ago. And then maybe that was in the back of my mind, or maybe at the back of Jim's mind, actually, because the Connell voice started out as a joke. Like it was just Jim, because I was trying to have him come up with a voice for Connell. And as I explained in the other podcast, like he just sent me Sean Connery impression lines as a joke. And then after I listened to them and laughed, I was like, well, wait a minute. I actually kind of like that. So
I don't know. I have to listen to the episode, but sounds interesting. That's why I mentioned it in that episode with Stephen Russell, because that was the first thing that came to my mind. Like, oh wait, really?
Just the fact that you mentioned my username to Stephen Russell, and he was like, "Oh, that's great!" Like that made me feel pretty good.
Did he add you on Facebook?
No, but that would have been awesome.
Yeah, no, but that is a really funny coincidence.
Did he add you on Facebook?
I don't know. He's on Twitter, but I think he doesn't post things.
It's like,
yeah.
Steven, my dude, add me.
Yeah, I think he doesn't listen to the podcast either. No. But but that's how it works. At least Tim Stelmach is on Twitter active, and that helps a lot. Maybe for the future. Let's see.
Who's the developer that joined the Dromad Discord? Which one was that? Marcus. Mark. Yeah. He joined the Dromad server.
That's so amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. Everybody was kind of starstruck, like starry-eyed, trying to talk to him.
Yeah, so you can imagine how I was feeling in that.
Yeah,
with Steven, and suddenly Bradman was gone.
I would be so nervous. I don't know if I could talk to him. Like I would just feel so nervous. Like it'd be kind of the same if you had like Dan Thrawn on an episode. Like I would just feel so overwhelmed with. Yeah, I wouldn't even know what to say.
But I think that is the thing. Like it depends on the person you're talking to. You know, like Steven, for example, he made it really easy. You know, he was so open and so accessible with everything. And so
you should reach out to Dan. You should reach out to Dan and try to get him on.
At the moment, I'm at Tim Stelmach. I think that is a name as well. You know, he was the lead designer of the original game. So
yeah. Well, I'm just for a future show idea, just because I know
we have many names, and maybe for the listeners, because since Stephen Russell, I get so many messages like, hey, could you get this and this guy and this guy? Yeah. Yes, we are on that. But first of all, I think it doesn't make sense to have them all in 1 year. You know, sure. I think we have to have those highlights here now and then. But you know, if you guys already have a connection to Dan,
no, not at all. I just I don't know him. I know that he did like a YouTube series. I think I only ever saw 2 videos come out of it, but I don't know if you ever saw it. But Dan Thrawn had a YouTube series called like Beard and something, and it was him talking about movies. Like he was talking about Star Wars, and then he talked about Blade Runner.
Okay,
they were really actually insightful. I really enjoyed them.
So yeah, there's a lot of stars from the scene. There's one of the graphic designers we already have planned, and there's a lot to come, but enough from our podcast plans. There is next. Is there anything anything you want to add right now, or and you have some questions, I guess.
I feel like we're shortly coming to an end, but there are two questions that I really want to put out there. It's quite short. This is the two questions again where you don't have to answer. First one is who is Illuze?
Oh, I don't mind answering that. Illuze is an ancient precursor goddess, actually, and she makes an appearance in Godbreaker, if you remember.
Okay, I forgot that part. I'm definitely going to go back and check it out.
Yeah, you can pick up the Mask of Illuze, and you can turn invisible.
The veil, yeah, the veil of Illuze.
Oh, so that's right, the Veil of Illuze, and it saps your health while you're using it, but it turns you invisible, basically. That whole idea was actually inspired by Kalender's legacy, and then it ended up turning into something bigger, where Illuze is part of an ancient pantheon of precursor gods. But it's specifically one of the southern precursors, which is something that I kind of invented from Death's Cold Embrace and then Godbreaker as well. So it's kind of like there is an ancient race of giants, which is where Elden comes from, and they had these gods that they worshipped, and Illuze is one of them.
Lovely.
Yep.
Okay, to go through the next question, remind me again, what's the name of the next, the Godbreaker prequel?
Broken Goddess.
Sequel.
Broken sequel. Okay. Sorry, this was a prequel. Yeah, that's a sequel.
Yes.
The Broken Goddess. The question I have written here is, who is she? But that's not enough, clearly. But this mysterious person, Mr. B, says in one of his letters, he says, "We may not be the ones to put her back together again, but at least we'll begin the search." Are we talking about Broken Goddess, perhaps?
Yes. Yeah, it's a direct reference to the name. Yep, because that's one of the main plot points of the campaign. So
awesome.
Yep.
All right, Alex, you want to go for here?
Yeah, I think we have covered a lot. Of course, in our sheets, we have a lot of more things and details we could talk about. But I think in general, we covered like very interesting details about everything. But one thing is like, I think you guys are open for criticism a bit, right?
No.
Okay. But Andy is. He told me already.
You're better on the say nice things.
Yeah. No, we're totally open to criticism. So
no. What? Okay, let me put it like that. What I really liked is that many jumping and mantling situations often didn't work for satisfaction. No. So what in my second playthrough, I had that. Because I was looking more into it, with the detailed eyes and not with just the little kid is going through a Thief 2 mission. I felt that a lot of jumping, like from window to window, didn't work so well. Like getting the distance, or maybe there's something in your way, that like running and jumping doesn't always work as you want it to be. So there have been some reloads, just maybe just for me. And then there are parts like where mantling, like there's like a couch standing in front of a window, and it doesn't really work as I'm used to. Do you agree, or are you aware of that, or is it just me? But do you feel that maybe it could need a little polish here and there?
Yeah, there's a couple of spots, and Andy can jump in too here, but there's a couple of spots where there's some ambient sounds that actually affect whether you can mantle properly, which is weird, I know, but like they really do cause that problem. But I think it's interesting that you say you had some trouble, because there's quite a few players that said that
it talked about how intuitive and how easy all of the mantling and climbing was. So I think a lot of it has to do with just the style of play and how people normally jump when they're playing Thief. But we kind of took great pains to make it as easy as possible. But at the same time, I think sometimes people are their own worst enemy, because a lot of times it'll look like it's hard and it's not. Like for instance, there's a couple parts where you can jump on a light that it's not normally something that you can jump on in like OMs, for instance. So if you're trying to overthinking it and not sure when to press the mantle button to catch it, you could potentially kind of sabotage yourself. But really, it's put in there so we really don't even need to think about it. You can just trust and jump towards it, and you'll be fine.
I have to agree and disagree, because I'm used to that. I played so many fan missions, and I think I'm pretty good with jumping in the game. I can handle certain situations, but in this one, it killed the flow a lot of times for me. But I don't know. Maybe if it's
there's a very grumpy Thief player that agrees with you.
So will he like ask you in 8 years to change that?
Oh,
do you mean him?
Probably.
Yeah. I won't change it at all.
No, but do you mean the person that will ask in 10 years to change that?
I guess I don't understand the reference.
I would say that, a couple of jumps aren't really optimized as well as they should be, but we spent a lot of time trying to ensure that the traversal was as easy as possible.
Okay.
So simply because the mission is just so big, and funny you mentioned couches in front of the windows. Couches are placed there to make it easier for you to mantle out of the windows, because otherwise you just can't. And as Rob said, that has to do with the bounce triggers, because they mess up the mantling code, and Connell or Garrett just can't mantle at all.
Yeah, and they also help prevent clacking if you try to go the other way, because they're made of the carpet material, so they don't make loud clacking when you drop down onto them.
It was just strange for me, but maybe next. Do you have what are your thoughts on the mantling and jumping situations?
I remember when you sprung that question on me a couple of days ago, and I was thinking about it a little bit, because I had first the couch in front of the window. I know at least one place, and it happens across most of the missions. I played A Violent Death of Duncan McVeigh a week ago, and there were two situations like that. It's usually not the couch that causes the problem, but sometimes there's a table. Especially bad is the working bench, right when you have to drop down, because especially from the vent, from the crouching position, sometimes it's just impossible to drop down, and you have to commit and kind of go with full speed so you can land on the edge. Those situations I did encounter. I know that there's one like that in Feast. I didn't have so many problems as Alex described, but I thought, is it possible, Alex, that somehow the new mantle would have get turned off on your machine?
No, because it worked in other places. So it was just strange, because in the first playthrough I didn't have the problems. Actually, there I was thinking it's really great. But I don't know what went wrong in my second playthrough. Maybe it was because of my mindset. When I replay a mission for an episode, that maybe I put too much thought in it, as you said, Rob. But I don't know. There were strange situations where I was like, the distance. I don't know. It feels strange. But of course, you could figure everything out, and it worked. But it was. It happened strangely a lot to me, and I'm not used to that. So, but maybe
actually a lot of places where you're not supposed to jump at all, you just run forward and grab the ledge
Yeah, I know how I played some thief missions and I know how the game works, and that's why I was irritated that in this case I had so many problems. But maybe it's just me. I just wanted to ask, like, if this is like a known problem or is it just me? But it seems to be just me.
No, it's not. No, it's not just you. I mean, there are definitely a couple other players that left comments on that we received that were very upset about it.
I'm not upset. I want to make that.
Well,
clear.
no, I'm not saying you're upset about it, but just saying there was a couple. You're not one of these people, but there were a couple of pretty nasty reviews that were. Like there was a couple. There was one review, for instance, where he gave it like extremely low marks on story for some reason, but doesn't really explain why. But he does talk an awful lot about bad mantling, and I get the feeling that he maybe just like got tired of reloading and so just like gave everything a bad mark because he is trash at jumping. So that's kind of the idea I got from it. Just
that was me.
It wasn't you. It was based on how nasty the review was. But
well, you can't satisfy everybody.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's something that I wasn't upset by the review or anything. I thought it was actually pretty funny.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, but he was right. So please, person, come up on the forums and tell us more what was wrong in that mission. No, kidding. But in general, what do you guys think of the mission afterwards? Like now it's released, and how was the reception of the mission? Of course, it was pretty good because it won. But how do you think the mission stands in comparison to the other competitors? Your general thoughts on the result you gave. What you achieved.
I'll let Andy go first on this one.
Well, overall, I'm happy with it. But actually, just a couple of days ago, I've heard a pretty spot-on description of it. I don't remember who said it, but basically, this mission is a gigantic amount of content, which is not even in quality. And yeah, that's pretty much what it is. Some places are better than the others, but the sheer amount of it is... I think we hit every Dromed limit we could. We just couldn't add anything to it. Even now, the mission doesn't portalize.
Yeah, that's very true. Like,
do you feel the same?
Do I feel the same?
Andy, do you feel so? Do you totally agree with that comment, or?
Yeah. As I said, I thought the comment was pretty spot on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the mission is perfect, obviously.
But
overall, I'm satisfied with it.
Okay. Yeah, some of the differences in quality in different areas comes from, just like Andy said, the limits. Like, for instance, I actually ended up making a book texture that was based on hand-placed books that I had placed already. Like in Rothschild's estate, his whole library, every single book in there that was on the shelves was hand-placed by me. It took a long time, but it made it look pretty authentic. It looked great. We just destroyed our object count from it. So we had to, when we were trying to finish the mission, we ran out of object IDs. So we were like, basically we had to just change all the libraries that I had made in hand place. So I ended up taking like screenshots of the shelves and making textures out of them. And so.
But then we had to cut down on lights significantly because a lot of the windows had 2 or even 4 lights in them. So we only put one.
And Andy put lights on windows that the player never even sees as
well. Since you're at the limits, did you reach the cell limit?
Yeah, several times.
Yep.
Huh.
Yeah, we very much
huh.
I mean, we spoke about this with Supreme, and I said to him, I'm pretty sure they didn't hit the cell count. But
as you explained to Pura, it's millions, so.
Well, I mean, we might be significantly under it. I mean, it won't be by much, but we may not hit the exact number of it. I don't know. Maybe Andy knows for sure, but like we definitely hit it.
Are you at 31,000?
Well, the limit I think is like 32,000 something.
Yeah.
So we're close to there.
Yeah. And I think we are over the brush limit.
I mean, because when I was working on my own, I've hit the limit a couple of times, and actually in my mission there are no stairs because they just took too much cell count. But
everything was based for people in wheelchairs. That's what he wants to say.
I mean, yeah, it's a fairly moderate city. I'd have to. I'm just kidding. But yeah, when I was working on the cell count, and I was worried a couple of times, I've had my teammate Giga Guga. He told me about a couple of tricks on how to reduce the cell count, and it would be fun if somebody wrote an extensive guide on how to get it down, because there's how you build it and the sequence. Like, you do more complex object at the end, and sometimes the most unintuitive decisions will lessen the count, and that you wouldn't think they would, but it happens.
Yeah. So in general, I think this mission is like it deserved P1, because I think you of course you can think of like, okay, it's an easy way of getting inspired by one of the most beloved Thief 2 missions, and this was a Thief 2 anniversary contest mission. But in my opinion, that was the best choice, because when you start playing like missions from a Thief 2 anniversary contest, of course you want some Thief 2 stuff. And this mission totally nailed it, and you added so much stuff from you mixed it with like all those modern things we have today, like those little side quests and combining objects and stuff like that. And the whole mission is so much fun, and the replayability is so huge, because you pretty early in the discussion we talked about like the secrets, and I don't know if I even had one message that I found a secret. So if you told me there's 12, so yeah, I will definitely replay it. And the story makes sense, and especially if you put it in context to the whole Godbreaker, Broken Goddess thing. Now there's so much going on. You are still building it up, and yeah, this mission is so amazing. Of course, it has its flaws. Every mission has its flaws. I think with the engine you can never do a perfect mission, but I think we covered like so many interesting details and so many really great thoughts you put into that. I'm really impressed by the whole thing, and especially when you tell me you have 1 year and you took like a break and then you brought it up in several months. Wow. Yeah, I think you can clap on your shoulders.
Indeed.
No, I mean, I appreciate it. Yeah, it's not definitely not perfect. And it wasn't even like I didn't actually vote on any of the missions myself. So my favorite was definitely Into the Odd. So, looking forward to your episode about that.
I hope Into the Odd is actually perfect in my opinion.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't
inspired by that mission for your future project.
Oh yeah,
that's just my honest opinion.
I wouldn't say it's perfect like Andy thinks, but it's very good, very good.
It depends. I would. It's great. As I said, listen to the through the contest episode. I can totally see why people appreciate it so much, but I actually prefer yours. So for me, in hindsight, I couldn't figure if Builder's Paradise or you is the clear number one, but from the whole context, you nailed it. You made a Thief 2 mission and added modern stuff, and that was amazing. So, and none of the missions are ever perfect. So, yeah. But all in all, you nailed it. There's so much interesting stuff going on. You can explore, and you will find funny and interesting things all over the place. The sound design is amazing. The graphics are great. Boom. Yeah.
And Brother Devon doth partake in eating of undergarments.
It
Yeah,
certainly does.
it definitely does. Yep. He also keeps the company of ape beasts.
And
His backside.
yeah,
He could let you enjoy the keen sting of a paddle across his backside or something like that. Yeah.
this is also one of the good highlights of the mission. It's not too condensed. It's not too serious.
Yeah.
I mean the way the jokes are laid out, it kind of keeps you in with the seriousness, and every while now and then it kind of lightens up with these jokes, but there's a whole abundance of them, and yeah, very nice.
Yep.
You know what is really interesting is that people always react to criticism. Very, you talk a lot about that, but if people get like a positive feedback, they are like, oh yeah, thanks. That I don't know, guys, accept it. It's an amazing mission. You've done great. So
Yeah,
my
thanks.
last question would be, Andy, you already told us a bit, but what are you guys working on? So yeah, of course, it's the Broken Goddess. And you, Andy, you said you plan like a sequel to Cracks in the Glass, right?
It'll take a while, but yeah.
So,
I'm
but
very much planning to finish it.
Andy's working on like 1 million missions. So.
Oh yeah, I'm working on Broken Goddess, and as recently revealed, I also work on the Black Parade, and that's not the full list. So yeah, a lot of stuff.
So you are in so many projects. And Rob, you are on Broken Goddess. What else are you doing?
So there's Broken Goddess, which is my primary one, and then I'm also working on a Halloween themed mission, which I've built most of the play area for, and the atmosphere is pretty good. But I'm having trouble with the story and objectives and everything. But it's going to be a challenge just because it's very. I'm having to make sacrifices to bring the frame rate back up because it's very detailed, and it's basically you're wandering around. You start out wandering through autumn woods at sunset, and it's there's like leaves falling, and the atmosphere is like if I do say so myself, and I can post a video of it to you guys maybe that I took, but it's I really like the atmosphere a lot.
Ah, yeah, I remember that.
I think I probably sent it to you. It has like the windmill and everything.
Yeah.
Gort made that windmill, and it's amazing. I feel bad that I haven't actually used it in anything yet because he did such a good job on it.
But yeah, please go on with it.
Yeah.
So
it won't be this Halloween because there's not enough time, but maybe for next Halloween.
Yeah, this Halloween will be Corona. Oh, but everyone is wearing a mask. Take your time as long as you if it is released one day, we are all happy because this year we have had several great missions already, and stuff has to come. So take your time and release it next year with the Broken Goddess as well.
I've been saying next year every year for the past like 5 years. So
yeah. You know what? If you are familiar with Duke Nukem, it's okay.
Well, in that case, don't. If that's the case, don't release it.
Yeah. I just thought the same, right? But you don't take money for it, and it will be better. So
True.
So, guys, I think we have like 2.5 hours at the moment. So, what do we want to talk about the next hour? Because I think we are through. No, let's come to an end now. Thank you both for explaining everything so detailed and giving us that very interesting discussion. And
of course, for making such a great mission.
Yeah, of course.
But
you heard next.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for having us on. It was definitely an honor, and thank you all the players who played it and chose to vote so positively for it. It was it was a big honor to be voted as the top mission. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I would echo everything Rob just said. Thanks for having us, and thanks for playing the mission, and thanks to all the TTLG.
Yeah. As I said, like I think you deserve the win, but every one of the top 3 missions deserved the win, and yeah, that is. But it's great to hear about like how you pulled that all off, and please go on with your amazing stuff you are planning and creating and whatever. So Taffers, thanks for listening. Andy, Randy, thanks for being part of this. Next, thanks for being part of all of this, and Alex, thanks for finally leaving now. So
no. Thanks, Alex. Thanks for organizing everything and making this possible.
Oh, it's isn't it beautiful? Here, take a flower. So, Taffers, listen to the Godbreaker episode, and of course, play everything of it. And next episode probably will be Builder's Paradise with Fire Mage as a guest. So we are looking forward to that. That will be very interesting as well, I think.
That is a monster of a mission.
Yeah, and I'm not happy to replay that in detail.
I would.
Yeah. So then you can do the episode. Because this is a monster. You know, you can imagine, like, it's really hard to replay a mission and to look for every detail to be prepared for these episodes. And damn.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a couple of days.
Yes, it will be. The mission, the episode, actually. We will talk for several days.
short naps in between.
We might release it in several parts. I don't know. So, as I said, thank you and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Another portrait of the infamous random duffer. This guy keeps showing up the most unexpected places.